Hey, everybody who's joined us. I'm Alex, the divorce planner. I help people prepare in advance of divorce so they get organized, they have all their finances assessed and move forward really as their own best advocate and save time and money. With my esteemed colleague, Leah Marie at Mindfully Ready. She is all things certified divorce empowerment and rebuilding who you are after divorce. So with that, I just kind of like want to jump in. I know
Yes.
you've been doing these like amazing. I want to hear what's been going on with you.
So I was going to text you this because I had just did a screenshot. Somebody left the best like review, testimonial, whatever you want to call it about the next chapter. I was crying. I was reading it to David. Like I was like, like crying because it was just so sweet. She's like, this is the best $30 I've ever spent in my whole divorce. You guys are helping me change my life. Like it was amazing. And so that's really what we've been doing. Like what we've been talking a lot about is the next chapter, which if you guys don't know, click the link in my bio. For $30 a month, it gives you access to a private group. It's women only. And every single Monday, Samantha Boss, who's also a divorce coach, and I do a whole training, like a 1-hour training on different topics. $30 a month, and you could cancel anytime. So like we've talked about boundaries, we talked about negative self-talk, we talked about parental alienation, like everything is in there, co-parenting, all that stuff. And it's just so good.
I'm so glad. Congratulations to the two of you on such a successful launch of the next chapter. I know that you are kid-free right now. That's part of your
Yeah.
divorce, right? That every
Yes.
summer
It's
you.
been it's been like 4 weeks, I think she's been gone. So we got about 3 more to go. So that's been okay. I've been, we like FaceTime and she texts me, we kind of talk at some point every day. But that's tough. So if any of you moms are doing it, if you have trouble being away from your kids, like when it's like, your ex's time to have them, I get it. My kid leaves for the whole summer. It took me a while to adjust to that. Yeah. What's the longest that your kids have been away?
That is an excellent question. Honestly, the longest my kids have been away after divorce has been, oh, a week at a
Okay.
time. Mine have been very
Yeah.
different. Like every cut, like parenting plan, every kind of child split is so different, right? And in my our experience with my divorce, I have primary parenting with the kids. So they're with me really like 85% of the time, which is great. Lean into what you can do. And everybody is different in their situation. And that was something, not only was it important to me, it was something that my ex wanted as well. Right. So that's been great, I have to say. But I'm not going to lie to you. It's like my kid free time after divorce, even being the person who's with them the most, right? I would still look forward to those kid-free weekends just to recharge. The first one's a little rocky. Wasn't really sure what to do with myself. And then I kind of got into a groove of trying to program that time I had without kids to do things that really brought me joy, right? That really sparked a fire in me, whether it was going to like local music, which I know you are, totally a musician, and being able to go out there and perform is like a big thing, and it feeds your soul, which ultimately like makes you a better parent. So,
Totally. So I used
mhm.
AI to come up with because I'm gonna run through these, and after each one you could give me your opinion. These
Okay.
are 8 things that potentially basically it's signs that you're not fully prepared for your divorce or your divorce process because you're
Okay.
all about prep, right? Divorce prep, prepare, organization.
Yes.
So here's some signs that
Financial planning.
yes. So number one,
Okay.
lack of understanding about the legal process. If you don't know what to expect from the divorce process, you may not be prepared. Understanding the legal steps and what's involved, such as filing procedures, potential court dates, negotiations of terms, etc., is crucial.
That's 100% true. And with more specificity about that, that's why I'm like on my soapbox all the time talking about preparing in advance. So you want to educate yourself about the process. You want to kind of figure out which divorce process is going to be right for you. Are you each going to hire attorneys, like lawyer up? That's going to cost a lot of money. Mediation is a much more kind of humane and budget friendly option. So a mediator is somebody who is a neutral third party who works with you and your soon to be ex-spouse to come up with an agreeable divorce judgment, which is great. Some people do use online services. I have in my blog a whole post about the pros and cons of using an online divorce service. Look, for me, it's just, it was really important to run everything by a legal professional once I was prepared in advance, because I'm not an attorney and I didn't want to go through an online process or file on my own. I was in a position I could go through mediation. But with that said, all that preparation, the biggest mistakes of not knowing what the process is going to be, not having all of your essential documentation in hand, not having an understanding of your financial realities with an actual working budget of what it costs to live your life every month, and not having your assets listed before you start talking to a divorce attorney or mediator immediately puts you in a catch-up position, right? Because then you don't know anything about your life, the details of your life, which is everything that I'm talking about is all the administrative stuff that any divorce professional needs in order to get to work. It also puts you in a position to be your best advocate because you've looked through everything, right? To do all of the research in advance. So you have your own specific list of questions that you can ask and really become a partner with your legal professional, which is what anybody should be. Like, nobody should be running your divorce. It should be shoulder to shoulder with you. Is that good?
Yeah, that's really good. Some of these might even end up overlapping because you covered a lot. Because the second one is unfamiliarity with finances. If you don't have a clear understanding of your financial situation, including income, expenses, assets, and debts, you may not be ready for the financial aspects of divorce, which is
100% true. Look, if you're in a two-income household and it's going to go down to one, that's a major step down. Like, I'm sorry, it is what it is. If you've been a stay-at-home parent, then who has to get work afterwards, and I'm sorry, the majority of stay-at-home parents do, because if you are splitting one income in a family dynamic, between two households, the math is the math. Unfortunately, that's what it is. But when you do all that financial planning in advance, you can anticipate what those changes are, and then you can negotiate smartly. And you can also plug in the numbers of whatever is being proposed to you into your budget and see if it works during the negotiation process. So you're not left on the other side like, well, crap, I didn't realize I was going to be like $1,000 short every month of what I need. You want to be proactive and not reactive when it comes to finances.
Yeah, and everything. I feel like you don't want to be reactive at all. Yeah. Okay, so then it says number 3, lack of legal representation. If you haven't yet consulted with a lawyer, even if you hope to settle the divorce amicably, you might not be adequately prepared. A lawyer can help you understand your rights and potential complications you may not foresee.
I totally agree with that. I also, with my clients who are going through mediations, I do advise my clients, if you have it in your budget, you should consult with a local family law attorney just as a consultant. Why?
Right.
Because even in mediation, that's a neutral third party. They're not going to be advocating on your behalf. They're not advocating on your spouse's behalf. They remain neutral, which is what's great about them. If you can have a local family law attorney who's consulting on your behalf, they're able to go through with your, best interests in mind, and they can go through and kind of like cross the T's and dot the I's and make sure, there could be precedents that you're not aware of that they're going to be able to kind of speak to. So if you do have it in your budget to be able to consult a local family law attorney, please do. If you don't have it in your budget, you do have resources, local resources that will either, give you pro bono options. And you can definitely find out, people are usually registered with your local courthouse and the family court division, and go to your library, ask your local librarian to run you a list of free divorce resources in your area.
Boom. Okay. Number 4, emotional instability. Divorce is an emotional process. If you're having a hard time managing your feelings, or if the decisions to divorce is impulsive or reactive, you might not be ready for the emotional toll it can take. Totally. I mean, yeah, I talk about this all the time, is you've got to make sure that It's a roller coaster. And when you're going through that process, you want to make sure you're not emotionally reactive. You want to be strategically responsive. You want to make sure that your emotions aren't like running the show. You have to put yourself back in the driver's seat, so you can you make better choices that are more rational, and they end up being better for your future self and all the things that you're planning. Because there are so many things that are triggering, and your ex might be totally pissing you off, and there might be things that, there's fear and there's overwhelm and stress, and there's so much going on. But if you let the emotional side take over, you're going to end up maybe like with missteps and doing things that later you regret that you did, or you wish you took more time, or you wish you had done a better job taking care of yourself because of the emotional toll that it can take on you.
You hit the nail on the head, right? Like, this is why I love when we do our workshops together, because look, my mantra is separate the emotional side of divorce from the business side. The last thing you want are your big feelings making kind of practical choices for you during the process just because you're acting out. Or some people are like, I just don't care. I'm going to put my head in the sand. I'm so sad. I don't want to pay attention. You can't get a do-over in divorce. Like, you really do have to focus that there is a business side to this, and you have to be present and be really prepared moving forward. And sometimes the feelings get in the way, right? There are a lot of feels. I want you to deal with those feelings. I want you to talk to Leah Marie, you know what I mean? And I want you to talk to me about how to prepare so that you're addressing both sides of it. And by the way, going back to even during the divorce process, there are a lot of people who get hung up fighting over shit you can replace. Do you know what I mean? Because they're mad, or they want to show their ex, like, I'm going to get you or whatever. If you are fighting over a lumpy chair Uncle Hank left to you, you can find another lumpy chair. It's not worth it.
Emily and I were just talking about this because the Kevin Costner case, and she's getting paid like $250,000 a month, but was dragging it out, and she was like fighting him over a plate. It was like some china. Like, girl, for $250,000 a month, go buy some new china. Like, get it over with. What are you doing?
Are we using china anymore?
I know.
Like, who's using formal
there's something you gotta just let go and just get it over with.
I totally agree. And also the other thing is, if you really are having those feelings of wanting revenge, the only person you are going to drain and do anything negative to is yourself and your bank account, because that cash register is just going to go up and up and up from your divorce attorney or your mediator. It's just a fact. Like, you don't want emotions seeping into this stuff. Christine, go get another plate.
Yeah, go get another friggin' plate. Okay, so number 5 says lack of a support system. Divorce can be isolating if you don't have a support system in place to help you through it, such as friends, family, a therapist, coach. You may struggle during the process. So true. Yeah. You need support, because divorce can feel super isolating. It's really rare that you're going through a divorce and you know someone close to you who's also going through it at the same time. Like, it doesn't usually happen. You're kind of going through it on your own. Mm-hmm. And so it makes such a difference to connect with other people who you can just lean on or talk to, or like a support group. I have a free support group. It's private. It's for women only. Yes, Alex is in it. And just to talk to other women who get it. Like, you can kind of talk, like, ask questions and talk about what's going on. And you'll have 20 other women be like, yes, oh my God, like, that's exactly what happened to me, or I'm going through this now. And it makes such a big difference to have that support system.
It really does. Diamonds has dropped in a couple of things. It's so draining with regard to, like, the fighting over shit that you can replace. And then also just totally is agreeing with, saying you're so right with regard to, like, having that support system. Look, when the shit hit the fan in my marriage and I realized divorce was next, I was like, I have this really great support system. My friends are fabulous and, like, couldn't be more, kind of behind wanting to support one another. They're all married. Being able to connect with other people who have lived the life experience that you're going through to glean not only support, but also kind of practical advice is huge. It's so important to build that support system during divorce as early as possible. And that can be if you don't know anybody, again, Leah Marie has a great all women Facebook group. I realize there are men out there who do need support as well. We are not anti-man. This is just the support, what she offers. But I know even locally, actually through Circles, you know, the app Circles. So Circles has a lot of men's groups for divorce. It's free. You download it, and there are certified divorce coaches. Actually, one being Noam Rauscher, who does, I think, a group every week. So if you're a man who's looking for emotional support, please check that great resource out.
Right. And I know Samantha Boss on here, it's the ugly truth of divorce and the ugly truth of co-parenting. She has a private support group, and that is for men and women. So you can always join the ugly truth of divorce on Facebook if you're a man and you're looking for that support.
Can I just pause you for 1 second? I would like to give a shout out to Neon Hippie for my face oil.
For that glow, the glam glow.
Heck? I'm like, it looks like I put all over me and I into it. Thank you, Neon Hippie.
I like that name.
Isn't it great? It's super cool. It's a friend of mine's company here, locally based, and it's super like crunchy, like it's all organic and stuff. But they use mushrooms in the skin oil, but it's all organic. Anyway, I digress from divorce.
Right.
What am I gonna do?
Let me see. And somebody says, do you just list out items that are important to you or literally walk through the house together? Meaning what items to split from the house?
Oh my God. This is a great question. I actually just uploaded a list your assets worksheet on my website in the shop. It's great. It walks you through everything. Everything. Your assets are the physical stuff you have, whether it's a couch or artwork or firearms or even your retirement accounts are assets. You want to have a comprehensive list. The List Your Assets worksheet on my website walks you through everything. And you need to assess the value, who purchased it, you know, during marriage, prior to marriage. And then I also have a section where you need to kind of think about your tie to this thing, like how important is it to you? And look, that asset log, as well as like all your essential documents, that's all the stuff you have to hand over. So doing it now and going through it even as an exercise puts you in a position where you're going to take the emotion out of the negotiating process. Now, going back to listing your assets, you know, there's a difference between listing your kitchen table and listing a vintage car or a gun. Like there are going to be certain items that you're going to need to get professionally appraised. So just keep that in mind. But the List Your Assets walks through everything, as well as like NFTs and Bitcoin, which I don't have, I don't know, but people got to list it. And your airline miles and your hotel miles. It's all,
I never thought of that.
All money. That is money.
I never thought of that. Yeah, that's true.
Carmen just dropped, what if you've never had shared bank accounts? How does that work? So Carmen, this is an excellent question. Laws vary state by state, but generally you're either in a community property state or an equitable split state, right? Check. So anything earned during the duration of the marriage, whether or not it's in a shared bank account, is counted as joint funds, right? And so to that, you need to kind of know what you know, make sure you have all of your bank account information, and also list what you don't know, which is, okay, my spouse has these accounts too, and those will be incorporated in as you move forward. Like, look, people get mail all the time. If you have a good relationship with your spouse, like none of this, some situations when you're preparing in advance of a divorce, you have to be a little discreet, right? Let's not lie about it. Other situations, if this is something, because this is not like, oh, only women can prepare, only men can prepare. It's for anybody. So if you have a good relationship and you're still communicating well, you can actually just say, let's exchange documents. Let's just get everything together. So I hope that helps, Carmen. Thank you for the question.
Okay, what else do we have? Okay, number 6, it says no post-divorce plan. If you haven't considered what life after divorce will look like, such as where you'll live, how you'll manage financially, or how you'll co-parent if you have children, you may not be ready to proceed with the process. You kind of touch on this too.
Oh my God, this is totally my thing. That's part of the whole preparation, right? So the whole prep is not only the administrative stuff, the financial kind of details of your life, what it costs to live your life, the assets that you have to gather, make a list of and their value, as well as all the statements and documents in your life. And if you have a trust, a deed, all of it. But you also need to make sure that you are figuring out, what do you want your life to look like after divorce? What are your priorities going into the process, so that you have a North Star? It's something that's I did for myself, and I always, when I'm working with clients, I've passed on to them. And by the way, I talk about it on social media all the time, like ad nauseum. It's like, when you start to look forward to what your life can be after divorce, it really becomes a game changer. Does it mean you're not going to get sad? No. Even in the most amicable of splits, it's shitty. Divorce really sucks. That doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. That means my friend Leah Marie will help you get through that emotional side of the equation. So,
yeah. So good. Okay, number 7, there's 2 left. Hoping for reconciliation. So if you're still hoping to reconcile with your spouse, then you might not be ready for divorce. It may be worth exploring counseling or mediation to see if the marriage can be saved, which is so true. I have people come to me and they're like, how do I know? Like, how do I know that it's time to kind of pull the plug or to throw in that towel? And it's like, there's a few things. And if you're really confused, I would recommend hopping on a consultation so I can walk you through it. But I think at the end of the day, if you haven't tried couples counseling, that would be my first suggestion. I mean, if you guys are stuck and there's just some troubled water and you don't know how to get out of it, sometimes just working with a therapist or a counselor can help you see things more objectively. They help you kind of find your blind spots, and they can give you tools so that you can try to work things out. But it takes 2. So like, if one person is the only one willing to put in the work, then you're probably stuck, right? Like, there's not much you can do with that. So you have to ask yourself, like, am I already emotionally checked out? Do I really even want this to work? Am I already kind of done and there's kind of no going back? And you can also ask yourself, what would need to change in order to make this viable, and how likely are those changes to happen? Like, you have to be really honest with yourself. Do you guys find yourself just having the same arguments over and over and over, like Groundhog Day, and then you never really find kind of any way to come to common ground? I mean, are these things that can't be changed, or the other person is not willing to fix? That is when you're kind of like painted into a corner, because you don't have control over anyone but yourself. So if you're in a partnership and you're the only one that wants to do the work, you're kind of fucked, because you can't change the other person, right? It's a tough decision. It's one of the hardest decisions you'll ever make.
it really is. And I took what I'm about to say, this advice, and did it. And I talked to a lot of clients. Like, I had a client earlier today. She's in therapy with her spouse, of course. Like, they're in couples therapy. It's been an on and off thing for a couple of years. When I realized the shit was really getting intense and I wasn't sure which way it was going to go, I put as much energy into trying to reconnect as I did preparing. You know why? Because it could have gone either way. And I thought to myself, if I'm preparing for a possible separation, which it could happen, because it felt like I was really, in the dark about where my spouse was on it, and I could only control myself. I just realized if I got, all of my essential documents together and really did these lists and got granular about my finances, even if we reconciled, I needed all that information anyway, right? So it doesn't hurt you to actually walk both paths at the same time. I think there's this idea of, like, if I even think about a separation or divorce, I'm jinxing things. I'm sorry, there is no magical thinking. Watch. I want a unicorn. Is it here? It's not here. I think we tell ourselves these stories, right? Because as humans, we're just so we're so in need of wanting things to be a certain way and to be known. And the truth is, most of our lives are unknown. So preparing for either way is really the way to go. I just want to do a shout out really quickly, because I just saw Erica Esquire, who I'm sure follows both of us, but she just dropped a couple of things in here. And I just want to say hello because I've seen your name a couple of times over the years on my account. And I'm so delighted that you joined us today. She said discernment counseling is great for this, about separating, which is a great tip. And she also dropped in that there's also a book called Taking Space by Robert Bucaccio. Bucaccio. I'm so, Robert, I'm sorry.
Come on, Alex, you were just in Italy.
Fire.
It sounds like an Italian name.
It is an Italian name. Oh, Erica's so sweet. She just gave us 2 trophies. Thank you so much for being here. It's so nice to see your name in here and offering such wonderful information to everybody who's here. It's awesome. Okay, so do we have one more question left?
So there's one more. So not prepared for the impact on the kids. So if you have kids, it's vital to consider how the divorce will impact them and plan accordingly. This includes thinking about potential custody arrangements and how to maintain stability for your children. Yes. And the most common question I get asked is, how do I tell my kids? How do I break the news to my kids? And to that I say, you don't want to tell them too early, because if they have questions, you want to be able to answer those questions. You don't want to drop that bomb, and then when they're asking questions, you're like, I don't know. Because that's going to kind of project that uncertainty and overwhelm onto them. So make sure you kind of take some steps and you kind of have your plan. You know where you're going to live, if you're going to move, what the situation is going to be, so that you can let them know. There's really great books that, depending on the age group of your kids, there's really great books out there that you can read to them or give them that explain divorce and what's going on their level and in their language. Highly recommend that. And then the last thing I would say is, you just want to make sure that you're not giving them too much information, because they really don't need details aside from how it's going to impact them. They want to know, okay, how is this decision affecting me? Am I changing schools? Do I have to move? When, like, am I not going to see you? Things like that. You don't really need to explain the details of the dissolution of the relationship itself, like that, why you're just, he did this and he did this and he did. I mean, they don't really need to know that unless they're older, and then that's totally up to you. I mean, it's really your business how much you want to share with your kids. But I would say the younger they are, I mean, the less really they need to know until they're old enough to ask you those questions about the details of the relationship.
I completely agree. And I would just add to that, talking to your pediatrician is a great resource, right? So this is something that, they'll have helped other families through, because, divorce happens. So they can be a really great resource. As Leah Marie said, when it comes to discussing the fact that you're separating or divorcing with the child, what age they are plays a huge part in how much you share, right? And there are wonderful books, as she recommended. Talk to your local librarian as well in advance. There can be books for you to read on the subject, as well as things to take out for them. But I really kind of want to go back to touch on where you wrapped up, which I think is incredibly important. And the truth of the matter is, in my opinion, divorce is an adult thing. Your kids don't have a choice in it. How you behave and how you handle the entire process, from just discussing it to a separation to mom and dad, or dad and dad, or mom and mom not living together, is showing them, is modeling for them how we handle transitions in life. And just because your parents aren't married anymore doesn't mean you're not family, right? So it's really on us adults to take the high road and to always put kids' best interest in front of whatever decisions we're making. And also, they don't need to know the details. There's no reason to pull your kids behind the curtain. These are grown-up adult things. They are children. Those things do not mix. Anyway, that's my 18 cents on the subject.
Agreed. Yeah, those are really good. I'm glad we got to go through those, because I figured they'd be a good
These
topic
for a lot of things with you. You
Yeah.
killed it.
Yeah.
I loved it. Well, for anybody who joined us, hopefully all of the subjects we discussed today with regard to divorce, divorce prep, separation, healing, how to kind of deal with the big emotions of it, how to deal with telling your kids. Hopefully, something we shared with you today, you'll be able to take with you and use if you want to reach out to Leah Marie and do a consultation, if you're really struggling about building your self esteem, or if you just need, that extra shoulder to lean on to really gather strength and help you during this time, please reach out to her. My cat is meowing. And if you're looking for one-on-one help, or if you have questions about divorce prep, book a consultation with me. But also go to the link in my bio. I've got a bunch of like freebie stuff for you to download, 24 questions to ask a divorce attorney or a mediator so you can start preparing, as well as my blog is filled with like so much stuff you should be taking into consideration as you move forward. I'm just so happy to do this again.